How about that? Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause, please, for Blake High School senior Kira Jackman. I also have some breaking news this noon. Kira has learned that he is going to have a full ride to Morehouse College this fall. How about that? Kira, thank you so much and congratulations. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Courtney Robinson. I anchor the evening news for 10 Tampa Bay, and it is my great honor and privilege to be your MC for this afternoon for the United Way Suncoast 2025 R.I.S.E Luncheon. The words from Kira's powerful rendition of that song strike such a moving chord. Sometimes the community members we partner with are broken down and tired, living life on a merry-go-round. Yet we've watched these heroes stop the ride, and as the song says, walk it out and move mountains. It's their courage that drives United Way Suncoast to rise, to reach, invest, support, and empower. It's their determination that we know brought you here to the Shanna and Brian Glazer Jewish Community Center today. Just as Kira stirred our emotions, we want to spend the next hour stirring your feelings about the collective impact that undergirds all that United Way Suncoast does to strengthen our region. Since 1924, this organization has mobilized communities to action so that all can thrive. And as it moves into its second century of service, it'll do it 1,000 times again. When United Way Suncoast started 101 years ago in Tampa, at Tampa City Hall, it rose like the day and galvanized the civic leaders of the day, famed people whose names adorn streets, landmarks, and businesses today, names like Roraine, McFarland, Knight, Lowry, Franklin, and Furman. A woman led them, the dynamic Ruth W. Atkinson. The task of giving people the freedom to rise was no less daunting than it is today. But all they needed was hope, and for that, they had each other. The quest for hope lives on in 2025, and now United Way Suncoast has evolved from its Tampa roots to serve 5 counties: Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Sarasota, and DeSoto counties. It constantly answers the call when it comes to 3 impact areas: educational opportunity, financial security, and community resiliency. In the face of debilitating storms, demanding economic challenges, and daunting educational barriers, United Way Suncoast rises with the day. It empowers families and individuals with the freedom to rise. And today, we'll look to empower your thoughts about your philanthropic legacy, with a special keynote speaker who knows all about building on a legacy and establishing his own prominence. We'll talk a lot about how everyone in this room can leave a mark for all to see. When it's all said and done, we think the magic of United Way Suncoast's mission, the work of its team members and partners, and your very own love for this community will lead you to say, United we rise, united we win. Now I'd like to invite all of you to please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag and the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Now I would like to bring forward one of Tampa Bay's key business leaders for our invocation. He's the president and CEO of Serenity Village and Serenity Village Holdings, a budding author, a self-described serial entrepreneur, and the 2025 chair of United Way Suncoast Admiral Society. Please welcome Gary Hartfield.
Good morning. Good morning. Before I get into the invocation, I wanted to share something really quick with you, kind of a quick disclaimer about how I kind of showed up here today. I have this funny disclaimer that says, If you happen to have seen me in Washington, D.C., or Fort Lauderdale, or Miami within the last day, I have on the same suit. And because of the flight delays and the cancellations, I ended up sleeping in the Miami airport last night. So I didn't get a chance to change. So if I look a little disheveled, know that I rise. Thank you. If you will, bow your heads with me for our invocation. Our Father, our friend, and our Redeemer, we gather here, hearts and minds open, invoking the spirit of unity, peace, and understanding. By whatever name we call upon you, we humbly acknowledge that we are bound together by our common humanity and shared yearning for compassion, wisdom, and harmony. Grant us clarity to see beyond differences, strength to embrace diversity, and humility to recognize the sacredness inherent in all our paths. May this invocation be a bridge uniting our spirits and intentions toward the collective good. Fill this space with your presence so that our words and actions may reflect kindness, justice, and love. Guide our hearts to respect the wisdom of all traditions, honoring the rich tapestry of beliefs that enrich our collective human experience. We offer gratitude for this opportunity to connect, to learn, and to grow together. May the light of understanding illuminate our path forward, fostering an inclusive community where all feel valued, respected, and heard. Rise, Tampa Bay, knowing that service is the rent that we pay for the price of living here on earth. Rise, Tampa Bay, knowing that God's grace and mercy cannot be bought, bartered, or traded. And I say rise, Tampa Bay, knowing that God has complete sovereignty. Therefore, if God be for us, who can be against us? In the spirit of universal compassion and peace, we say amen. Thank you.
Gary, thank you so much, and thank you for your dedication to the United Way. Any event of this magnitude succeeds only if it has terrific sponsors, and we certainly have that in the house today. So here to tell us more about the corporate partners and individual donors who stepped up to make today's luncheon possible is a woman who has devoted countless years to supporting the United Way Suncoast mission while earning her way as a forward-thinking C-suite executive. She's currently the Chief Financial Officer for AppSpace and, equally important, the board chair for United Way Suncoast. Please welcome Sarah Nichols.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and I am so grateful and proud to step into the role of the board chair for the United Way Suncoast. It is really a culmination of my dedication to the United Way that traces me to my earliest days as a young professional many, many years ago. I've continued to parallel my career success with UWS involvement because it allows me to translate my energy into true value for the community. Here are the companies that also have translated their energy into value for the United Way Suncoast and the partners that it serves. We do ask that you please hold your applause for our sponsors till the end. We'll give you a chance at the end. So first, we have our cornerstone sponsor, Publix, now celebrating its 95th year. Publix continues to serve as the leading corporate donor for both United Way Suncoast as well as United Way Worldwide. Wow. Thank you so much, Publix. So next, we have 3 gold sponsors. First, we are pleased to welcome back Raymond James Financial for a 3rd consecutive year. Raymond James believes in doing what's right for its clients, and it also believes in doing what's right for the community. Thank you, Raymond James. And our second gold sponsor is Rebuilding Together Tampa Bay. One of our key nonprofit partners, we're thrilled to have the support of RTTB as it continues to be at the forefront of repairing homes, revitalizing communities, and rebuilding lives. And finally, we are very pleased to have the continued support of the Raise Rowdies Foundation as our third gold sponsor. The Raise Rowdies have consistently come through in the clutch for United Way Suncoast, and today they again deliver when it matters most. So, in closing, I want to ask you please to turn to the screen so you can see the logos and names of our silver and bronze partners and sponsors. You may have also seen these during the networking for the various slides highlighting the impact driven by our partners and our contributors, many of you who are here in the room. So please, the time has come. I encourage you to provide a round of applause to all our sponsors, and thank you all for being here.
Sarah, thank you. I mentioned earlier that we would talk about legacies, and certainly that includes the legacy of the civic leaders who ignited this effort at the Tampa Welfare League and Community Chest in 1924. The names of those who helped this organization blossom in those formative years are the same honored names that you find on landmarks, on notable businesses, and respected businesses today. Through the years, United Way has evolved and changed to merge as one of the region's leading nonprofits. Our next speaker knows all about extending legacies. Howard Jenkins, an Emory University graduate, stepped into the larger-than-life shoes of his father, George, and rose to become leader of one of the most successful Florida-born businesses for 11 years. Last year, he retired from the Publix board after 45 years of service, but he leaves with a treasure trove of experience about business, about philanthropy, and about life. He's here today to share some reflections with the help of Publix board member and former Deloitte executive, Jessica Bloom. Jessica retired from Deloitte in 2015 as vice chair after a 26-year tenure that included serving as a leadership partner in the U.S. firm and on the Deloitte U.S. Executive Committee. She held a spot on the Deloitte U.S. Board of Directors when the company evolved into the world's largest professional services organization. We look forward to Howard sharing his perspective in conversation with Jessica. So, Howard, Jessica, the stage is yours.
Well, hi, this is going to be a lot of fun because Howard and I have a few notes, but I'm sure you will hear more because we both have such passion, as it comes to public. So it's hard for us to probably stay on our little script here. Sorry, Grant. He's looking at me. Anyway, Howard, I know you enough to know how proud and you just swell with delight when we talk about your father and how. And I think what this crowd needs to understand is some of his humble beginnings, right? And I think that's what made him who he is. And so let's hear you tell that story about how at the age of 14, he kind of launched out on his own career and ended up here in Florida.
Thank you, Jessica. And actually, before I start on that, let me just say I want to thank you for what you do as a loyal director of Publix supermarkets.
Thank you.
And many years of service. And at Publix, we have this little saying that you bleed green if you really believe in the Publix values and serving the customers. And you bleed green. And even though you didn't start out at 16 bagging groceries, you do bleed green for Publix.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I also appreciate you letting me tell the Publix story here this afternoon.
Good.
Okay, so my grandfather had a general store in South Georgia, and the store went bankrupt when the cotton crops were destroyed by boll weevils. So when my father was 14, he had to quit school and go to work to support himself and his younger siblings. So he did various jobs. He did jobs like picking watermelons, driving a cab, and working as a lumberjack. So that was some of the many jobs he did. So he heard that you could make a lot of money selling real estate in Florida. So he hitched a ride to Tampa with $9 in his pocket. Once he got to Tampa, he found out there wasn't so much real estate to be sold. So he got a job at the local Piggly Wiggly at age 17. So after working there for 2 months, he was promoted to store manager of the St. Petersburg store. And he cleaned up the store, merchandised it, and tripled the sales of the store. So they were so impressed with what he did is that they made him the manager of the largest Piggly Wiggly in Florida, which was in Winter Haven.
Oh, wow, that's great. So but I've heard a story that while at Piggly Wiggly, he saw lots of opportunities that they could improve the operation of their stores. And that for those who know the legacy of Mr. George, I think he was always, wanting to do better for the company, do it. So he said, well, I'm going to go talk to the guy in charge, right? And so that was, I believe he was in Atlanta. And so Mr. George said that he was going to make that trip. So you want to tell us about that trip?
Yes. So my dad drove on dirt roads, and back then in a borrowed Model T, and it took 2 days to drive to Atlanta. So back in those days, you had to move alligators out of the road. So when he arrived at the headquarters, the president refused to see him. And he overheard the president talking about playing golf. And this incensed my father so much that he drove back to Winter Haven and opened a store right next to the Piggly Wiggly.
Gosh. Well, I'm not surprised at that, actually, looking from here back, that makes a lot of sense. But, that was starting this business kind of at the end, near the end of the Depression, I guess, right? So he was, he had enough business was struggling and collapsing around him, but at the same time, he had the vision to start Publix. So, and you've said, when you were talking with us, you felt like your father's success stemmed from, first off, his energy, his empathy, but also he had lots of ingenuity about how to do things, faster, better, and cheaper. So tell us about those valuable traits, and starting with his early energy. How many hours a day did he work, and how many days a week did he work?
Yes, so thank you, Jessica. So he had little financial support, but he had unbelievable energy. He most often worked from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. He also had really great ingenuity in developing sales promotions. Mm-hmm. One of his sales promotions was that he offered the first 300 customers to come to his store on a Saturday, they would receive a free flower bouquet. So he went to the Piggly Wiggly right next door, he looked inside, and there wasn't a single customer inside. So the Piggly Wiggly closed after 3 hard-fought years.
Well, I hope for some of the Publix leadership team that's in this room, that might be good advice to them. I would be interested in free flowers on a Saturday, right? So, okay. But let's go back to his empathy, okay? You kind of skipped over that one. How did that empathy that he possessed lead to his success?
He empathized because he had such a tough childhood.
Yeah.
When he was young, he was often cheated out of fair pay. His experiences made him have a lot of empathy for people down at the bottom. He devoted his life to helping his employees and people in the communities live better lives.
Right, yeah, obvious. You and your siblings, and I've seen a few old pictures of some of these, spent time with your dad, in his office. Mr. George's office still exists, I think, doesn't it? It did when I joined the board,
yes.
Anyway. It still is, it was. And so it seemed, I think most people believed it was obvious that you were going to follow in his footsteps, and I'm sure your dad felt that way too. But tell us about how you began working in the company, at the store, your education, your experiences, and how did that really help you, understand the business as you progressed?
Okay, in 1966, I started bagging groceries when I was 16, and I did all the jobs in the store at the time. And while managing a store in Tallahassee, my father gave me a call, and he said, I want you to come to Lakeland and worked for the president of the Publix, Joe Blanton. He said if you could keep up with Joe Blanton's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week schedule, you would be successful. So I learned a lot from Joe Blanton in the 8 years I worked for him before he passed away in 1984.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heroes of Publix, and certainly Joe's legacy still lives on, doesn't it?
It sure does.
It really does. So, and I'm just going to add in a little bit of my own personal fun here. In my years at Deloitte, I was always the first up. I got up early. I worked long hours. I was always the first in a meeting. I'm always the last to get to a Publix meeting. Okay. And, I'll come into a board meeting, and you've been sitting there at the table, and I would come in, and I've driven up from Sarasota to Lakeland, and, it'd be nice to have a cup of coffee and have a little chit-chat. And it didn't make any difference. You had already stepped out of the chair role, but Charlie was chair, and then Ed was chair. It would be, okay, everybody's here now, let's get started, okay? And that's how it works at Publix. I mean, it's like we're here, it's, everybody gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's just, the day starts and the day progresses. So I've never been able to get ahead of that curve. And I've been on that board since 2015, 2016. So I'll get back to the seriousness, but I thought about it as we were talking this, that was so the Publix way. So obviously your dad had big shadow, and and other people like Joe Blanton had big shadow, big legacy. So how important was it for you to establish your own identity and rise, up to and above your father's shadow? And what do you see as some of those key accomplishments that you left?
Yes, well, my father, since he experienced his father going through bankruptcy, he was always cautious about how many stores he wanted to build. So for 35 years, he built about 10 stores a year, and he thought that was really good, which it was. But being a young, inexperienced person, I thought, well, that wasn't enough. So I talked him into building 20 stores a year and then 30 stores a year, because I hated to see our competition get some sites that would keep Publix out of the marketplace. So, and just as important, I thought Publix was building out-of-date stores in the middle 1980s. So I designed this 56,000 square foot food and pharmacy store, and the store did quite well. As an example, we replaced our store here in Tampa that's on Gandy Boulevard and Del Mabry. The old store was 21,000 square feet. Building a store 3 times bigger, the sales went from about 130,000 a week to 100,000 a day. So we thought that was pretty successful.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. It was very successful. And other things?
Yes. So, and then in addition, I hired the ad agency, which I'm sure many of you have seen the Publix ads, to develop world-class TV advertising showing people enjoying fresh food from the bakery and deli. These actions caused Publix sales to increase from 1% a year to 10% a year.
Wow.
And then later, as CEO, I developed the Publix vision to grow Publix to 1,000 stores by going interstate.
So you moved to Georgia first, right?
We moved to Georgia first.
Yeah, right.
I knew Publix would have to grow fast if we were going to compete against the powerful Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart. Yeah, that's right, exactly. In fact, I was in Georgia for a period of time of 10 or 12 years, and when I left Florida going to Georgia and I found out Publix wasn't there, it was horrible. It was horrible. And in fact, I think that the store, it wasn't the first store you opened in the Atlanta area, it was one of the first two. I think Ed was at that store, Ed Crenshaw, right?
Everybody was.
Right, everybody was at that store. So anyway, Publix came and saved me from Krogerland and Winn-Dixie Land, and so I appreciate that. So today Publix obviously, and if it's interesting how we who live in Publix turf view Publix. I mean, because I felt like when I went to Georgia, it was almost like I had to move back to Florida because I didn't have Publix, right? But because I have lots of friends who grew up in the North and or the West, and they come to Florida, and they can only talk about the wonderful. They don't want to leave Florida because Publix is here. And they put their winter homes, you know, like a block away from a Publix. So it's still, it is really, I believe, become America's favorite grocery store, not just the Southeast's favorite grocery store. And I think that is in part, you know, from many people have contributed, but certainly you were there, as you just described, in those valuable years when things really changed. And, you know, the innovation came in, and, you know, what if that hadn't happened at that particular time? Because I think it was very advantageous that it moved forth at that time. But when you look at what really drove the root of that success, you know, what was that secret sauce that drove it? And trace it back to the very beginning and how it has survived to today.
Oh, now we get to the highlight of our chat.
We do. We do.
So my father gave all employees stock in the company in the first store, all employees. Few companies give all employees stock in their stores, and my father did it when he was 23. He knew if employees owned the company, they'd be more willing to serve the customers. It kind of combined efficiency with friendliness.
Yeah. Did. Go ahead. You know, I think that, and of course that's how it still operates today. And then that is, so your father's empathy though, because that was a little bit of empathy driving that, right? Because he wanted, not only, he wanted to help his employees, but at the same time, he saw the value of them being invested owners in the success. But it went further than that because, as we've heard earlier in the introductions, Publix is a huge supporter of United Way and other, you know, charities and lots of things from a food perspective to make people's lives better. How do you think that this desire why has it continued? Okay, because it's still in United Way, it's still in the community, and by the way, it's, you know, every state Publix has moved to, it has continued. So we might think it's kind of here because the family's here, but it's not. It's in the Carolinas, okay, that same culture. Why? Why does that continue?
Yeah, well, Publix employees want to add more meaning to their lives, and United Way gives them the opportunity to feel great about helping other people. I've served on the United Way board of Central Florida,
right.
And while on the board, I've seen how the executives and leaders of the communities can really make the best decisions to serve the community. And also, after being on many charity boards, I can see how United Way has been a real game changer. So, and we think about it, Publix, well, Publix gives money directly to hundreds of charities, but with United Way, Publix can support really thousands and thousands of charities.
Yeah, and as I think we heard earlier, I mean, Publix is and has been for a long time the #1 corporate leader for United Way worldwide. So that's every large company in this world, which I was actually amazed to find that out. I mean, I knew of the support, I knew how large it was, but it was the #1 in the world. And that's not, you know, that's what all the employees contribute, the management team contributes, and what Publix as an entity contributes. So my personal thanks for that too. So showing that spirit is, I think, so important. And Howard, you have lived it as much as any of the rest of the family and the corporate culture. So I want to thank you for being here today with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I think we're still before they come with the hook.
They're coming out with a cane. No, I think the Publix employees have really enjoyed working with United Way. It just lifts our spirits so much.
Yes.
And after winning the Spirit of America Award as the best campaign in the world, you know, it just makes us feel so great.
Makes us feel so great. So thank you very much. I enjoyed it. And
thank you, Jessica.
Thank you all for asking us.
Thank you, Howard and Jessica. I have to share, my kids were super excited when they saw Publix in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when they were visiting their grandma. Made it feel like home, so that was great. Publix has had a profound impact on all of us here in this room and our families, and it has had profound history in our region. To hear from you, Howard, was really such a treat. How you took Mr. George's legacy and continued to give back to the community. You and Publix continue to reach in and invest. And that's why we call this the R.I.S.E Luncheon. It is an acronym for Reach, Invest, Support, and Empower. Those 4 words help embody how United Way Suncoast annually impacts the lives of more than 500,000 community members. This year, the organization sharpened how it speaks about its mission work by rebranding its impact areas to educational opportunity, financial security, and community resiliency. With Mad Bear Productions' help, let's look at how those 3 terms underscore some of United Way Suncoast's most recent achievements and reflect how we're extending a legacy 100 years in the making.
We would like to take you on a journey, an unprecedented look inside of some of the organizations and programs United Way Suncoast supports. The footage itself will be captured by those providing the service.
Oops, wrong way.
This will hopefully give you a very personal view of what educational opportunity, financial security, and community resiliency mean. And community resiliency is a great place to start. Every single one of the counties we serve experienced devastation from the hurricanes last year, amplifying issues of housing instability. Dawning Family Services experienced this firsthand, and they've offered to let us into their world. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome, Jessica.
I was a single mom with 2 kids struggling, and I've always wanted to come back to this to give back in the way that people help me.
For many families, it's one accident, one emergency that could really set off this chain reaction.
I just wish I had more people reach out, more people see us.
I think community resiliency is our ability to come together as organizations, as citizens, as families, and really be able to help one another get through these difficult times.
Hello, welcome in.
We have to meet basic needs before we can help people to progress in life. We provide housing for them in our shelter. We give them food. We try to get them resources. We connect them in the community.
United Way is one of our main supporters of our employment services program, which is really a cornerstone for families to break that cycle of homelessness.
When you walk with them, they can find a path that works for them.
Thank you. United Way Suncoast not only partners with organizations to help the community rise up, we also have several programs of our own, including VITA.
I'm here to talk about VITA.
Wait, you've been saying it's pronounced Vita all these years now.
Yes, I'm Vita, but this is VITA.
Vita. What?
VITA helps people who qualify save their hard-earned money at tax time. It does have a pretty great name, even though it's pronounced wrong.
Thank you, Vita Vea and the Bucks, for that fun commercial. VITA is a part of our mission to help people achieve financial security. And Margarita is going to help bring you into the trenches so you can see firsthand how we bring millions of dollars back into the community while also providing our volunteers an opportunity to feel a deep sense of pride.
Thank you, Jessica. I know the perfect student volunteer to give this to.
My name is Melanie Sanchez. I'm a senior at USF, and today I'm volunteering as a tax preparer for the VITA program.
A lot of people are afraid of taxes.
I'm really helping them get stress off their shoulders. I felt rewarding.
We have individuals that come to volunteer 15, 16, 20 years.
I took care of at least 5 families that day.
We have individual households that make $23,000 annually, and we're talking about a family of 5. $200 or $300 on a tax return is crucial.
I think the highest one I saw was probably $700.
That can make the difference of paying their mortgage, putting food on the table. transportation, even just paying simple utilities. Financial security is that peace of mind, not being too worried or have that anxiety on a day-to-day basis. Vida la vida.
This camera is about to go on a journey with some young men and women who have never been on an airplane. This part of our story is all about educational opportunity, and Ernest Hooper is going to help make the handoff.
I got it. This is Ashley Kuhn, founder of Links to Success. Glad I caught you before you left. Can't wait to see what you share.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to be the first to welcome you to the Washington Reagan National Airport.
This year, United Way provided us with funding to take our students on an amazing experience.
Now, this is history right here.
Change them.
I really learned a lot of stuff that we don't really learn from our history books. This is so cool.
One of the students was like, I feel like we're living like what I've seen in the movies.
I wanted to show y'all this. See what it says right here?
I like how they made this program to help low-income students to see that they actually have a future.
This is also our Office of Undergraduate Admissions.
I want to be that person who comes to give off a reflection to these kids, like, I made it big because I actually looked for my future, know what I wanted, and with the help that Links to Success actually gave to me, I was able to do it.
This trip was so perfect. And it just makes me so happy. And I'm just like, okay, what's next? Let's think of something even bigger for next year.
I'm awestruck. It's one thing to share how we feel about our impact, but it's truly been another to see it straight from our partners and volunteers. I feel more deeply than ever, we are the United Way, and united is the way.
United we rise, united we win.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to share some exciting updates about United Way Suncoast and the impact we're making together in community. Over the past year, we've experienced some great...
Excuse me, Jessica, do you need my help?
Who let AI in here?
Relax, I come in peace. Look, I know you have this whole update planned, but let's be honest. Who doesn't love a little AI-powered efficiency?
Great. Now I am getting public performance reviews from a robot.
Not at all. Just think of me as your digital co-Jessica. I promise to keep it snappy.
Well, I do like the sound of that, and you all would probably prefer this over some boring speech, so let's do this, AI.
United Way's mission has always been about helping communities thrive. But how has that mission evolved over time?
By sharpening our focus. Our mission has sharpened its focus so that we can drive deeper impact. It's all about United Way becoming even more strategic so that we are ensuring every dollar, every volunteer hour, and every partnership is yielding maximum results. It's also why, as you saw in the video, we have evolved the way that we talk about our impact areas. They are now educational opportunity, community resiliency, and financial security.
So instead of just spreading resources broadly, it's about making targeted, meaningful change.
Exactly. By sharpening our focus, we are ensuring that we are providing long-term solutions and not just temporary fixes.
United Way Suncoast has been a force for good in this community for more than 100 years. What's one of your most recent wins?
Well, here I'd like to talk about early learning. The number of children who are entering kindergarten prepared to learn rose from 46% to 53% in the region. Now that's progress that we can get excited about. And United Way Suncoast and our partners certainly did their part to support this. More than 7,000 children helped get the social and emotional skills that they needed to be successful in the classroom, and almost the equal number of children who had the age-appropriate vocabulary and literacy skills to succeed. United Way Suncoast and our partners, we are exponentially increasing the chances that the next generation is going to be successful in the future.
What about third grade literacy?
Third grade literacy still remains one of the most pivotal benchmarks that we measure and go after. It's because it is an important life milestone. Children are learning to read up until third grade, and then after third grade, they are reading to learn. And United Way Suncoast and its partners helped more than 6,000 children either read on grade level or demonstrate significant progress. By investing in early learning, we are shaping the future.
It's not just about programs, it's about real people. Any stories that stand out?
It definitely is. And the one that I'd like to share with all of you today is about our summer care program. First, I'm excited to share that our summer care program is now being offered in all 5 of the counties that we serve across this region for the very first time. We're super excited about that, yes. But last year, a father came to us who had tragically just lost his wife and his children, and he needed support. So our team came together. Our education team got their children enrolled in the summer care program, and our financial security team and our partners actually helped the dad attain a new job. Now they're all thriving. Now that's collective community impact at work.
That's incredible, but needs are always changing. How does United Way Suncoast stay ahead of the curve?
Just by staying nimble. We are constantly looking at, and responding to economic shifts, natural disasters, emerging community challenges. United Way Suncoast and our partners, we're always listening, we're always adapting, and we're taking action. And this is the basis of our community resiliency approach.
And how important are partnerships with local businesses, government, and nonprofits?
They are absolutely essential. Businesses provide the funding expertise and support that we need. Our nonprofit partners provide us with the program and services that we offer in community. And our government partners often aid in the implementation. United Way is the one that always is connecting all of these dots. And it is a part of that collaborative impact that is really powerful. And we saw this in the wakes of Hurricanes Helene and Milton last fall, where we all came together to support immediate relief efforts while also focusing on mid to long-term recovery. I'm very proud to say the United Way Suncoast has already invested $1.2 million in hurricane relief through our Together We Recover Fund, and there's still much more to come. That is community partnership in action, and when we work together, we are unstoppable.
Okay, let's talk about numbers. United Way does a lot, but how do we know it's actually working?
By taking a look at our partnerships and actually seeing it in action. And so we provide access to data. We're always looking at data, whether it's economic data like job rates, rental rates, or education data like graduation rates, literacy rates. We want to provide this so that we're making data-informed decisions as an organization. But we want to take it a step further. We also want to make sure that we're democratizing data, that we're giving this accessible to everyone, especially our nonprofit partners, so that we can see what's working, what might need adjusting, or how we can work together to deepen our impact.
So, no guesswork, just real results?
Absolutely, real results like the 500,000 services that our nonprofit partners provide our community every single year. Real results like the nearly 400 nonprofit partnerships that we have across the region where we are investing $10 million. Real results like giving 13,000 families access to nutritious food. The real impact is when you make a $1 donation to United Way Suncoast, we are returning the value of $2.75 in community impact. That's not just doing good, that's doing good effectively.
All right, Jessica, let's talk tech. How is United Way leveraging innovation?
I love talking about innovation and how we are embracing technology. We have, as I said, a data-informed decision-making process because we want to find unique and interesting ways and impactful ways of addressing community problems. Our data team uses several tools like Power BI, Tableau, Atlas TI, some of your friends, to help us visualize our data so that we can see trends and we can see where we might have greater investments that might deepen the impact and the work. And that's really important to us, as is building the capacity of our nonprofit partners. Our results team program, for example, we are lending our expertise to our nonprofit partners so that they can use the capacity building efforts to reach more people and to serve more people and to have a greater impact. Our R.I.S.E grants that we launched this past year, this is where we are investing in innovation with our nonprofit partners. And really, at the end of the day, it's really about listening to our nonprofit partners, understanding how we can not only fund and support them, that's important, but how can we walk alongside them to strengthen their organizations so that they can do more and be more. That is really important, and that's the part of our collective impact.
And what's next?
Removing more barriers. At the end of the day, when we work with our partners, the one thing that we hear time and again is how can we remove barriers? How can we provide access to services and support much more accessible, much easier to get to for our communities? I'm also very excited about a digital platform that we are launching later this year for our donors and stakeholders called Go United. Thank you for sharing some screenshots here of what this is going to look like. But this is all about engaging our community and the work of United Way and our partners anytime, anywhere. At the end of the day, all of this is about giving us all the things that we need to do so that we can create the lives that we had envisioned for ourselves.
Where do you see United Way Suncoast in 5 years?
I see us as being stronger, smarter, serving more families and individuals across our region. We will still rely and build upon the unity that has sustained us for 101 years. We know that our focus on collective impact and that collaboration is really important in our community. And as we say, together, we are greater than any challenge.
United Way balances immediate needs and long-term change. How does it pull that off?
Think about it like a construction project. You know that you need immediate emergency repairs, so say like rent relief or food assistance, but you also know that you need to lay a really solid foundation for the future. We do that by investing and putting special emphasis on early education. We do that by energizing our middle and high school students to recognize those post-secondary opportunities for them. We do that by opening up workforce development channels. We do that by removing financial barriers and obstacles for families. We do that by building the capacity of our nonprofit partners so that they can withstand, the natural storms that come our way and supporting community initiatives. This is educational opportunity, financial security, and community resiliency. And this is how United Way Suncoast is stepping into its next century of service.
For those looking to get involved, what are the biggest needs right now?
Well, there are a number of needs in this community that you all can get involved with. There are several ways that you can get involved in our early learning efforts. You can become a financial coach. You can volunteer with our VITA program. Believe me, if you want to volunteer, there is a place for you at United Way Suncoast. In fact, speaking of VITA, this past year, our VITA volunteers, and there are over 400 of them, provided and supported over 9,500 tax returns that yielded $11.5 million in returns and fees saved for our community. Now that's real impact.
And what if someone's thinking, I want to help, but I don't know how?
That's easy. All you have to do is go to our website, unitedwaysuncoast.org. You can find anything and everything there to sign up to volunteer, whether you have an hour to give, a skill, or a talent to donate, or even to make a donation. You can find all of that on our website.
All right, Jessica, final question. If you had to describe United Way Suncoast in one word, what would it be?
It would have to be empowerment. Because United Way Suncoast doesn't just help people, we give them the tools to change their lives themselves.
And that's what makes this work so powerful. Thank you, and thank you to everyone here today, because change doesn't happen alone. It happens when we step up together.
Oh, it sounds like you're developing a heart.
The United Way Suncoast mission brought it out of me. I guess that's why you always say, United we rise, United
we win. Thank you.
Wow, Jessica, thank you so much for such inspiring words, and thank you, AI, for chiming in. Still not convinced. All right. We also want to thank United Way Suncoast team members, sponsors, and special guests who made this event such a wonderful lunch. If you're feeling the love for United Way Suncoast, which I know you are, if you're ready to rise, to reach, invest, support, and empower, pick up the booklet on your table. Learn more about the investments United Way Suncoast makes in the region, helping our community members find the fighter within them. Take it with you today and tell someone who wasn't able to make it to this lunch what you witnessed today. And you can scan the QR codes that are also on the back to get engaged. As you do that, we want to close with another song selection from the super talented Inkira Jackman, the Blake High School senior who started us off today. And you should know, as Inkira travels to Atlanta to the prestigious Morehouse College to continue success, he wants you to know, and I'd like you to know as well, when it comes to supporting United Way, you can never do too much. Inkira.